Okay, step 2. Now we've taken an 8.5 by 11 sheet of computer paper. We cut another one in half and taped it to it so we could have a little bit wider bag. I mean, you can make a tote any size. I mean, you can make a small tote. You can make a little bitty tote for an American Girl doll. You can make matching totes. You can make it bigger than this. Tape more pieces of paper together. Just keep going wider and taller. But the main thing is cutting 2 of your outside and 2 of your inside fabric. Okay, once you do that, when you lay it down, you have to think, which is the bottom? Well, this is going to be the bottom. I'm going to have it wider than I am taller. So when I put it down, I'm going to make sure my fabric is that way. Well, with this fabric, it did not matter which way I had the fabric laid. But sometimes you might be dealing with frogs or princesses or, you know, football teams, something like that. And you want to make sure that you have the bottom correctly on there and not turn it this way, because then your frogs or football team or whatever would be sideways. So be very careful how you lay this and think about where you want the bottom to be. Now once you cut out both pieces, you lay that to the side and you have the inside and the outside and they match. At this point is where you would put your trim on the outside. Now realize we are going to sew it together, the outside and the inside lining, and so it's going to come down a little bit. So you don't want to put your trim like right up at the top, because when you sew it together it's going to take up part of your trim and then you won't even be able to see it. So you have to be very careful. So you're going to take one piece. Now if you want it on both pieces, you could actually go ahead and sew both pieces together on one side and open it up. Then you could spread out your trim over the whole bag, but you're going to have to measure down. Well, I'm only going to put it on the front of my bag, not the back of my bag. So I'm going to take this. Okay. Now I'm going to take, let me get my measuring. Alright, so we have measuring tape and we have sewing gauge, a little ruler, a little slidey thing. Okay, well, I'm going to go down about 2 inches. Okay, so here we go. See if we can zoom in here. Alright, so I'm going to go down. I'm going to set my little ruler here for 2 inches. And then I'm going to go down 2 inches from the top. Make a little mark. And then I'm going to go over here to this other side. And I'm going to go just 2 inches from the top over here, make a little line. Now I've got 2 blue marks on either side. And now this is a water soluble pen. It comes out with water, wash it, or you can spray it with iron water. And then I mark the 2 spots here. And I have a pretty blue line. Now I'm going to zoom back out here. Now I'm going to take my trim. Make sure you can tell the front from the back. That's the back. I'm going to put it right over that line. It doesn't matter if it's sticking off. I'm going to pin that on. Right at the top. I'm just going to sew this at the top. I'm not going to sew it at the bottom because it's got this pretty edge at the bottom. Now, if you're dealing with rickrack, and that's a zigzaggy kind of ribbon trim, you can sew right in the middle. And leave it hanging off, because when we sew the bag parts together, we'll sew that and then it'll be sticking out and then we can cut it off. So don't worry about it right now. So I'm going to go over the sewing machine. And I have this on a 1 and a 3. So the stitch length is a 3. When you turn it on, it comes up a 0, 0. And I'm going to make it a 1. It just makes the needle in the center, set on the side, and then a 3. So now I'm going to take this. And I'm going to sew right at the top. So set it where I want it, needle down, and I back stitch once to make my knot, and then I'm just going to sew right in the middle. Do not go fast if you're uncomfortable. I'd rather you have it accurate than be fast, okay? Just really close to the top there. Get to the end, I stop before I get to the end of the fabric. I back stitch a couple of times, and then I sew off the fabric. Needle up, take it off, and cut it off on the side or with the scissors. All right, let's go back over here and take a look. And here is our trim. Okay, and now lay that back down. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my other piece. I can do it over here. And put right sides together. So right sides are the pretty side, and that's the wrong side. So I'm going to put these together. Line them all up nice, matching my edges. Sometimes, depending on the way you cut, they're not always even. Alright, so there's where we sewed the trim on. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around the sides and the bottom and the other side. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew about a 1/2 inch in. Well, how do I know a 1/2 inch? Well, I'm going to mark it. Now, you also have a little gauge on your sewing machine. So I'm going to mark it right here. And I'm going to mark it at the bottom. But sometimes when you're beginning, it's nice to have these. So I'm going to mark the sides, I'm going to mark the bottom. Now the purple ink is disappearing ink. It'll disappear in a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to turn this sideways. Mark a 1/2 inch. So I did the bottom and the sides. Now you're going to do this with the lining too, but you're going to do just a little bit different. So once you've marked that, we need to connect the dots. So we'll have a nice straight edge to sew on. So you just line up your little marks. Let's see if you can see those. There's your purple. So you're going to sew down and across and back up. Okay? I'm going to stop here and then I'll show you how to do the lining.